Every day, 7,000 students in the United States give up their education. This means that each year, over 1.2 million students drop out of high school. However, if students were more encouraged to do well in their classes, this number could potentially decrease. Providing more incentives for academics would improve students' performance. For instance, researchers discovered that when promised a reward, students had a stronger desire to do well on tests. Sally Sadoff, a professor at the Rady School of Management at the University of California, says that when students at Bloom Township High School were offered money as an incentive, they had higher test scores. When we offered students $20 incentives, we found their scores were 0.12 to 2.0 standard deviation points above what we would otherwise have predicted given their previous test scores. Rewards like these provide students with a reason to work harder in class and take tests more seriously. If they have something to look forward to, they'll most likely want to do well. Therefore, with more incentives, students' attitude towards schoolwork would improve. Earning money in school can also help inner-city kids resist the lure of making a living through gangs and community crimes. Many kids from poor backgrounds do not understand the value and power of education, and if they were rewarded for their hard work, it would help them to see the potential they possess when they apply themselves. These kids, who may have a few adult role models who are successful as a result of working towards a good education, need a reason to want to do well. If they were properly motivated, they would feel that doing well has a purpose and would strive to do their best. As a result, they would have a higher chance of staying out of crime and better career opportunities for the future. If students in less fortunate positions earn monetary rewards for their achievements in class, they can learn to appreciate the value of education and to make an honest effort towards their future. Additionally, for some students, monetary supplements imitate a salary and can help them prepare for a career. Sadoff states that it is difficult for some students to connect hard work with earning a reward. Most rewards used today involve quite distant horizons, including obtaining an exceptional job for the future and making a better salary. These long-term goals can be difficult for a student to work towards. Students may not be able to see or understand the importance of the future, which leaves them with hardly any motivation to do well in school. Yet, if these kids were provided monetary incentives, it might help them to visualize a more realistic and positive future. In short, incentives of money simulate salary and provide students for their careers. On the other hand, school districts might say that there's lack of funding for incentives. The staff in the districts may believe that students need grand gifts of money or other expensive goods. As a result, they would say that there's not enough money to fund incentives. However, most children and teenagers do not need to be granted expensive rewards to be motivated to do well in school. A study was performed in a large urban school district in the southern United States, and it was based on 300 randomly selected students in grades 5 through 8. One student group received a reward of $100 for consistent attendance in the after-school program. A second group was given certificates of recognition, and a third group was mailed certificates of recognition of attendance signed by a district superintendent. A control group students received no incentives. After conducting the experiment, researchers were surprised to find that students who had been given certificates were more motivated than the ones who had received money. In fact, students who were paid for their attendance of the program barely attended more than the students in the control group who received no incentives at all. Simply stated, money is not always necessary, and items such as certificates, trophies, free time, or even candy supplement as rewards for the students' hard work. In addition, others might argue that students are getting spoiled with their rewards and that they should not have to be bribed to do work. Psychologists Bob Brooks and Sam Goldstein explain that research shows most children are, by nature, motivated to learn. External motivators may be effective, well-intended, says Goldstein, but they clearly work against the continued development of a child's intrinsic or innate motivation. Intrinsic motivation, participating at school for the sheer pleasure of learning, is soon eclipsed by the promise of external rewards, and a child's natural enthusiasm for learning may be dampened. It doesn't really teach kids the learning for learning's sake. To critics like these, learning simply becomes a reason to be rewarded. They claim that students would take their learning for granted and become too far used to being rewarded for it. On the contrary, some students need motivation to gear them to finish their homework or study more. Learning itself would remain the same and would not morph into a gain for rewards. To ensure that students do not rely on incentives for their learning, rewards would be minor and infrequent. Incentives provided for academic achievements would encourage students to improve their grades and overall performance in school, thus preparing them for the future. When granted an occasional award, students would feel motivated to continue their hard work and would not require continuous bribes. If you give a child a treat, he might just learn to sit. If you give a kid a trophy, they might just learn to work hard and pursue an exceptional education and bright future. Thank you.